I was staring at the timestamp on the fourth photo when my hand started shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. September 23rd, 11:47 p.m. That was the night I changed into my pajamas with the lights on, dancing to music while I brushed my teeth, completely alone in my dorm room. Except I wasn't alone. Someone had been outside my window with a camera, close enough to capture the pattern on my shirt. I should have gone to the police right then. I didn't know yet that whoever took these photos had been planning this since the moment I handed them my old iPhone. My name's Jessica. I'm 19, a sophomore at UT Austin, and up until 3 weeks ago, my biggest problem was affording textbooks on a tight budget. I lived in Jester West, one of those massive concrete dorms where everyone's window faces either another building or the parking lot. My room was on the 3rd floor, corner unit, window facing the east parking lot, and a strip of trees beyond the fence. I'd always kept my curtains open because I liked the natural light, and honestly, who's going to climb 3 floors to peek into a random college girl's room? The iPhone sale seemed like easy money. I'd upgraded to a new phone and listed my old iPhone 11 on Facebook Marketplace for $280. Within an hour, someone messaged me. No profile picture, name just said Mary S. She asked if it was still available, said she needed it for her daughter's birthday. Could we meet that evening? She suggested the Target parking lot off North Lamar, 7 p.m., well lit and public. I said, sure. I'd done a dozen of these meetups before, sold textbooks, a desk lamp, a mini fridge. You meet in a parking lot, make small talk for 30 seconds, exchange cash for item, done. I got there 5 minutes early on September 9th. She pulled up right at 7 in a silver Honda Accord, Texas plates. Nothing unusual about it. She was probably early 40s, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing a Target employee vest, which I thought was funny since we were literally in their parking lot. She smiled when she got out, asked if the phone was unlocked and factory reset. I showed her, completely wiped, ready to go. She counted out cash, mostly 20s, asked how I liked UT, said her daughter was hoping to go there in a few years. Normal conversation, forgettable. She took the phone, I took the money. She said thank you and drove off. The whole interaction lasted maybe 4 minutes. I didn't think about her again until September 12th. That's when I got the first text from the same number she'd used to arrange the meetup. It came at 2:18 p.m. while I was walking back from my sociology lecture. The message said, "Blue sundress today. You looked cold waiting for the bus this morning." I stopped walking, read it again. I had worn a blue sundress. I had waited for the bus that morning at the stop on Speedway, same as always, around 8:40 a.m. But the phrasing was wrong. Not, "Hey, I think I saw you," but descriptive, observational, clinical. I texted back, "Who is this?" No response. I told myself it was probably someone from class playing a weird joke. Or maybe the woman had given my number to her daughter as a contact or something, and the daughter was being creepy. I didn't block the number because I wanted to see if they'd text again, wanted to understand what this was. That was my first mistake. I stayed curious instead of scared. The second text came September 14th, 9:53 p.m. You left your biology textbook in the 3rd floor study room, southwest corner table. It's still there. I was in my dorm when I got that one, and I actually laughed because it was absurd. I hadn't been in any study room that day. But then I remembered I'd been in the biology building that afternoon, second floor, reviewing notes, not third floor. So either they were wrong or... I pulled up the building map on my laptop. Third floor did have study rooms. I hadn't been up there in over a week, but... Wait. September 7th. 2 days before I sold the phone. I'd left my textbook in one of those rooms, realized it an hour later, went back and grabbed it. How did they know about that? I didn't text back this time. I opened Facebook Marketplace, found the conversation with Mary S., and looked at her profile. Created in July 2024. No posts, no friends list visible, no photos except the default gray silhouette. A burner account. I blocked the number and deleted the conversation. September 16th, 11:02 a.m., different number. Blocking me doesn't change anything. I know you got coffee at Starbucks yesterday at 4:15. Iced caramel macchiato, extra caramel. You sat by the window and called your mom. My stomach dropped. That was accurate down to the drink order and the phone call. I'd sat in the Starbucks on Guadalupe, right by the window facing the street, talked to my mom for 20 minutes about whether I should switch my major. I tried to remember who else had been in that Starbucks. The girl at the counter with AirPods, 2 guys from what looked like the engineering college, laptops open, talking about a project, and one other person, a man alone, sitting at the table directly behind me, slightly to my left. I hadn't looked at his face. I remembered a gray sleeve, a dark backpack on the floor, a coffee cup he never seemed to drink from. He'd been there when I arrived, and still there when I left 40 minutes later. I hadn't thought anything of it because there's always someone like that in a coffee shop. Just a person, existing, unremarkable. The detail in the text about my phone call, what I'd ordered, who I'd called. You couldn't get that from the street through the window. The glass had a reflection. You'd need to be inside, close enough to hear. Close enough that if I turned around, I would have been looking right at him.
I called campus police.
The officer I spoke to was polite but not particularly concerned. He said unless there were explicit threats or someone had physically approached me, there wasn't much they could do. He suggested I document everything, keep blocking numbers, maybe change my daily routine. He asked if I had an ex-boyfriend who might be doing this. I said no. He asked if I'd given my number to anyone recently who seemed off. I mentioned the woman who bought my iPhone, but even as I said it, I felt stupid. A 40-year-old suburban mom stalking a random college student? For what reason? But I couldn't shake the timeline. The first text came 3 days after the sale, and the detail about the textbook, that happened before the sale, which meant either this person had been watching me before we met, or they'd found out about it some other way. That night, I went through my old iPhone before selling it. I'd factory reset it, I was sure of that. But I started thinking about what information had been on there. My photos, yeah, but those backed up to iCloud and I deleted the local copies. My texts and call logs, wiped. But my Apple ID had been logged in until the moment I reset it. My location services, my frequent locations, my calendar, which had my entire class schedule, my maps history, showing every place I'd searched for or navigated to in the past 2 years. I checked my iCloud account. No unusual sign-ins, no devices listed except my new phone and my laptop. If someone had accessed my data, they'd done it before I reset everything then logged out. September 18th, 1:47 p.m. Third number, You should close your curtains at night. I was in the dining hall when I got that one. I actually felt my vision tunnel, the noise around me going distant and muffled. I texted back immediately, "What do you want from me?" 3 minutes later, "I just want you to know I'm paying attention." I went back to my dorm and closed my curtains for the first time all semester. Then I sat on my bed and tried to think logically. Someone was watching me. They knew my schedule, my routine, where I lived, but they hadn't approached me, hadn't broken in, hadn't done anything except send texts. Texts that proved they were close, but didn't reveal how close. I started changing small things. I varied my route to class, stopped going to the same Starbucks, started using the west stairwell in my building instead of the east. I told my roommate Kira what was going on. She'd been visiting her parents for 2 weeks and didn't get back until the 20th. She wanted me to file a formal report, get a restraining order. But against who? I didn't have a name, a face, an address. Just 3 disconnected phone numbers that never called, only texted. September 22nd, no texts. September 23rd, nothing all day. I started to think maybe I'd been paranoid. Maybe they'd gotten bored. Kira and I ordered Thai food, watched Netflix, talked about her family drama. Normal weeknight stuff. Around 11:30 she went to bed. I brushed my teeth, changed into my pajamas, this old concert t-shirt and shorts, put on a playlist, and danced around my room like an idiot because I was feeling lighter than I had in days. September 24th, 6:18 a.m., 4th number. No text this time. Just 4 photos. The first photo, me at my desk, working on my laptop, taken from outside my window. Timestamp, September 10th, 10:34 p.m. 2 days after I sold the phone. Second photo, me on my bed reading a textbook. September 15th, 9:12 p.m. Third photo, me standing by my window, looking out at the parking lot. September 20th, 7:48 p.m. I remembered that moment. I've been looking for Kira's car, checking if she'd arrived back early. Fourth photo, me last night, September 23rd, 11:47 p.m., dancing in my pajamas with my toothbrush still in my hand. 2 weeks of photos, taken from outside my 3rd floor window, all at night, all when I thought I was alone, all time-stamped and dated like a surveillance log.
I threw up in my trash can.
Then I called campus police again, and this time I went down to the station with my phone and showed them everything. Different officer this time, a woman in her 50s who took it seriously. She asked if I'd noticed anyone in the parking lot at night, anyone in the trees. I said no. She asked if my window faced any other buildings where someone could shoot photos from an opposing window. I said no, just parking lot and trees. She wrote everything down, took screenshots of the messages and photos, filed an official report. She said they'd increase patrols around Jester West, and I should call 911 immediately if I saw anyone suspicious. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding. Is there any way this person could have installed something on your phone or laptop? Spyware that tracks your location? I ran antivirus scans on everything that night. Clean. I changed every password I had, enabled 2-factor authentication on every account. I bought blackout curtains and mounted them that same afternoon. I stopped posting on Instagram, stopped checking in anywhere publicly. I looked up my dorm building on Google Maps and Street View, studied the angles, tried to figure out where someone would have to stand to get those photos. The parking lot was possible, but they'd need a serious zoom lens. The trees, maybe if someone climbed high enough, but every night for 2 weeks? September 26th. You really think curtains will help? I didn't respond. I didn't block the number either, because at least while they were texting me, I knew they were still operating from a distance. Silence would be worse. September 28th. Kira convinced me to go to the UT Police Department. Not campus security, actual police. We filed a report there too. The detective I spoke to was younger, mid-30s, seemed genuinely concerned. He asked if I still had the Facebook Marketplace conversation. I didn't. I deleted it. He asked if I remembered the license plate of the Honda Accord. I didn't. He suggested I request dorm reassignment for safety reasons. October 1st. I moved to San Jacinto Hall, north side of campus, 8th floor, window facing inward toward a courtyard. I didn't tell anyone except Kira and the housing office. I changed my phone number that same day, ported it over to a new SIM card, texted only my parents and close friends from the new number. I started parking in a different lot, eating at different dining halls, taking routes across campus I'd never used before. On moving day, I made 4 trips up to the 8th floor with boxes and bags. On the 3rd trip, I was alone in the elevator, arms full, when it stopped at the 2nd floor and a man got on. Mid-40s, gray jacket, dark backpack. He held the door for me without being asked, glanced at the boxes and said, "Moving in?" I said, "Yes, just transferred buildings." He nodded, pressed 4, rode up in silence. When the doors opened on 4, he stepped off without looking back. Normal, forgettable, the kind of interaction you have 100 times in a dorm building and remember none of. I didn't think about him again for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. No texts, no photos, no messages. I started sleeping through the night again. I stopped checking over my shoulder every 30 seconds. I went on a date with a guy from my chemistry lab. I called my mom and told her I thought it was over. October 24th, 2:33 p.m., unknown number. 1 photo. Me yesterday, October 23rd, 4:12 p.m., walking into the north entrance of San Jacinto Hall, wearing the same gray hoodie I'd bought 2 weeks ago that no one from my old life had ever seen. I stared at the photo for a long time before I noticed the reflection in the glass door behind me as I walked through it. The lobby was visible in that reflection. The elevator bank, the 2nd floor walkway above it, and the stairwell entrance to the right. And standing just inside the stairwell doorway, half in shadow, was a figure in a gray jacket with a dark backpack. He'd been in the elevator with me on moving day. He already knew which floor I was on before I'd unpacked a single box.